Hey, coming up next, are you a budding movie maker looking to strut your stuff? We'll show you where to upload and share your videos for the world to see coming up right after this break. Stay.
Our behavior on her YouTube channel.
Videos posted on
There's
YouTube.
a very, very dark side to this site. And who knows if it goes.
The dark side of YouTube, a place that has become an obsession of mine throughout the years, with the vast majority of my uploads being centered around the most disturbed content this site has to offer. And throughout these years, I've accumulated so many topics ranging from the bizarre to the downright terrifying, that I decided to finally put them all together into an iceberg so that I can properly share them with all of you. Most of these will be unique to my channel, but you'll probably recognize a few topics, especially if you've watched my videos before. And in honor of this spooky season, I reached out to a few fellow creators to help me out in taking you guys to the very depths of this site. So without further ado, join me as we journey down YouTube's darkest iceberg. Level 1, Clear Skies. For this layer, I'll be taking you guys through some of the videos and channels that truly terrified me when I was growing up, way before I ever dreamed of becoming a YouTuber. And from there, I'll have some friends join me in walking you through the following levels, which rather than being ranked by obscurity, will instead get darker and darker as we go, at least in my own personal opinion. Until the very end, when I'll close the video off with the content here on YouTube that truly terrifies me today, which I consider to be the darkest on the entire platform. The Real Screams of Hell. This classic video from 2011 reportedly shares an audio clip from a Soviet experiment in which a team of researchers drilled a hole as far as they could into the surface of the Earth. However, upon reaching 14.4 kilometers, the drill suddenly broke through into what seemed to be a large pocket of open space and air. Immediately, the temperature at the site of the drill tip rose to a staggering 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, but that was far from the most unusual discovery, as immediately the scientists began to hear the faint sound of screaming emanating from the small opening in the earth. So curiously, they lowered a heat-resistant microphone into the hole, and this is what they recorded.
And I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
According to the video, this audio shows the persistent screaming from those trapped in hell. And though certainly very creepy, the video is really nothing more than a fabrication inspired by a hoax of a similar manner. Interestingly though, the Soviets did actually perform a similar experiment in which they drilled 12 miles below the Earth's crust, but nothing supernatural was ever recorded. Marina Mordegard Glezgorov. This entry was actually my first encounter with a YouTube mystery back when I was probably around 11 years old, and needless to say, it led to countless sleepless nights. The story revolves around a 20-second video posted to YouTube that showed a man sitting and staring expressionless into the camera, before the shot suddenly cuts to a man smiling nefariously for the final 2 seconds. Aside from being slightly off-putting, the supposed full version of this video is said to be cursed and have horrific effects on whoever views it. According to the legend, this is only part of the actual video. The full video lasts 2 minutes and was removed by YouTube after 153 people who viewed the video gouged their eyes out and mailed them to YouTube's main office in San Bruno. The video itself was only viewed by one YouTube staff member who started screaming after 45 seconds. The man is under constant sedatives and is apparently unable to recall what he saw. The other people who were in the room with him said all they could hear was a high-pitched drilling noise, but none of them dared to look at the screen. Supposed videos of this full version have found their way to YouTube over the years, and though they too are quite creepy, it's not hard to tell that this is just another internet myth. They even went on to identify who this man actually was, though I wish someone would have told that to 11-year-old me. Levitating girl in the woods. While on a walk in an unnamed forest in Russia, a man's dog suddenly bolts off, uncharacteristically running away from its owner and failing to listen to his commands. And upon chasing him deeper into the woods, the owner comes face to face with a bizarre scene.
Tarzan, ко мне! Что это? Тихо, тихо, Таrzan. Таrzan, тихо, Таrzan.
In front of him appeared to be a young girl levitating in the air next to her mother, and upon the cameraman's dog barking, the child comes back down to the ground and runs off, disappearing into the woods. This is another one of those videos that always gave me the creeps back in the day, and watching it back today, it's definitely still a bit scary, but realistically, it's probably nothing more than a hoax. Marina Joyce. This entry refers to one of the more bizarre moments in YouTube's history, as rumors began swirling back in 2016 that popular YouTuber Marina Joyce had been kidnapped and was being forced to make videos. The concern arose as the 19-year-old creator, who was typically bubbly and full of life, began acting differently. In her videos, she seemed to be incredibly nervous, with her eyes constantly shifting off camera, as if someone was directing her on what to do. In one instance, you could even see a finger of someone behind the scenes pointing to where she should stand. And the bizarre moments continued from there, as viewers noticed an influx of bruises on her arms, a moment where she appears to whisper, "Help me," and a gun in the background of one of her videos. During the time, the internet was fixated on this case, which eventually led to the police doing a wellness check on the girl, who clarified that she was safe and she supposedly wasn't actually kidnapped. Marina eventually explained that her change in personality was simply due to her escalating depression, though to this day many believe that she staged the whole ordeal. Angel of Death. This video was the very first scary video that I ever saw on YouTube, when my friend showed it to me in his basement all the way back in 2008, and honestly it left me traumatized and sleepless for weeks, and I still remember it to this day. The video, which I sadly can't show due to age restriction, shows a soccer match in which a player by the name of Abdulrahman Al-Shuaibi is accidentally kicked in the head by an opponent, and following this, something extremely disturbing happens to him. First, he repeatedly falls to the ground and then springs to his feet in a shockingly unnatural manner. And once he finally finds his footing, he begins jogging backwards, as if he had no control over his body. He finally comes to a stop as he falls to his knees, and his body bends back in the most chilling way possible, to which he then falls completely limp to the ground, landing face first and supposedly dying right there on the field. This video is actually very real and is incredibly shocking to watch, but thankfully, Al-Shuaibi would not actually lose his life. Instead, he suffered from a major seizure as a result of the kick to the head, causing his movements to become completely involuntary. But he would quickly go on to make a full recovery and would actually play in the team's very next match. CERN Sacrifice. This video, taken outside the CERN Geneva campus, shows a group of hooded men, accompanied by one woman gathering beneath a large statue of the Hindu god Shiva. The men then surround the woman who lies on the ground in the middle, as one man approaches her with a knife and proceeds to stab her, much to the shock of the person recording the ordeal.
Fuck. Shit.
But unsurprisingly, this video too was later proven to be a hoax, with CERN later admitting that some of their scientists had been the ones to carry out the prank while they were attending the campus. Blank Room Soup. Perhaps the most infamous creepy video in YouTube's entire history. This strange clip shows a man feverishly eating a bowl of soup in an all-white room. A strange figure in a horrifying costume then approaches the man from behind and begins to console him, before another figure appears in frame. The two then rub the man's back as he begins to cry, while off camera you can hear the faint sound of laughter. The origin of this video today still seems to be a mystery, but the costumes themselves were found to have been invented by an artist named Raymond Percy, who is best known for his work on Wreck-It Ralph and Zootopia. To this day, he denies any involvement and claims that the costumes were stolen and used for God knows what. However, it does seem more likely that this is just some kind of art project, to which Percy was involved with at least in some capacity. But because he has never fully confessed to it, for now we can only make assumptions. Lost in the Catacombs. This entry refers to a VHS tape supposedly discovered within the Paris catacombs by an urban explorer. On it, the footage shows a man casually filming their journey into the claustrophobic maze of death, before their behavior starts to change. For unknown reasons, the man begins to panic and starts to sprint through the dark catacombs, before dropping his camera in a puddle and running off into the darkness, never to return. If this clip is real, it's very likely that whoever was behind the camera suffered from some sort of anxiety attack due to the claustrophobic and just overall terrifying nature of the catacombs. Those strange symbols and unexplained noises in the background have led others to point to more supernatural explanations. Either way, if it is to be believed, it's likely whoever this man was did not survive the trip. However, most people nowadays believe that this was nothing more than a hoax, potentially put on by an old TV show called Scary But True, where the footage was first aired. And though this is most likely the case, it's interesting to note that the footage does actually show the inside of the catacombs, meaning that if they really did fake this clip, then they definitely went all out for it.
Tier 2. Tip of the iceberg. 00390. 00390 refers to a YouTube channel that has been active for over half a decade and continues to post to this day. There are many disturbing videos on this YouTube channel that point to its creator seemingly being some sort of kidnapper and potentially even a serial killer. Though in reality, this doesn't appear to be true. Rather, 00390 seems to be instead an ARG, as some of its most infamous videos were actually taken from completely separate sources, and overall, it seems to be more of an art project than anything. But at the end of the day, we really don't know for sure what its origins are. Blood Soup, Svartsapa, 1995. Svartsapa 1995 is a low-res 6-minute YouTube video with less than 1,000 views, 818 at the time of writing. The video begins with what seems to be a sketchy blood drive taking place in an unknown location, where all of the blood collected is put into one big pot. The ingredients for a dish known as Svartsapa are then flashed on the screen, which include the word blod, the Swedish word for blood. We then see the blood taken from the participants mixed in a bowl with the rest of the recipe to create what is essentially human blood soup. The camera then cuts to a scene within a pub where the soup is being served and then eaten by a table full of people. While it's quite uncomfortable to watch and leaves us with many questions, the video is actually nothing more than an art project carried out by a man named Pelle Thorsen. Though that doesn't mean that it wasn't all fake, as part of this performance actually did entail eating the actual soup, which is more disgusting than anything else. New DPRK. New DPRK is a channel that was created back in 2019 that supposedly shows what life is like in North Korea. Each video paints the country as a utopia, filled with happy citizens and a thriving economy, which is quite the contrast to what most of us know about the region. And that's entirely by design, as in actuality, the channel was quite literally created by the North Korean government. This entire page was set up as a way to spread propaganda to the rest of the world, a facade to mask the true conditions of the country, whose citizens are subjected to an incredibly harsh existence. And overall, it's very off-putting seeing how normal some of these videos are, despite how dark their reality is behind the scenes. Bizarre fetishes. This is a strange one. YouTube is an extremely diverse platform that is home to all sorts of niche communities. Most are fairly normal, but the deeper you dig, the stranger and darker they seem to become. For example, take a look at this YouTube channel called Amputees. All of its videos are uploaded of people who have had amputations, along with a favorites playlist, all containing dozens of other clips showing similar content. Even more unusual, many of these clips have hundreds of thousands of views on them, leading to the question, why? Well, this is actually an account that seems to be dedicated to some sort of amputee fetish, with a select group of people consuming this material in a sexual way. And though there's nothing wrong with finding someone with an amputation attractive, this fetish seems to go a bit deeper than that, as on this page are videos of actual amputation surgeries, which are also being viewed sexually. Kanye West Suicide Song. The Kanye West Suicide Song alludes to a leaked track by Kanye called Never See Me Again. The song features a sample of Futari Dake No Ceremony by Yukiko Okada, a Japanese singer who committed suicide in the 80s at the age of 21, who Kanye had been studying, even going as far as moving to Japan where he would write this song. And to go along with this dark sample, Kanye's lyricism seems downtrodden and almost defeated, repeating the lines, "It'll be a long time before you ever see me again." Adding to the story, this came during a time in Kanye's life where his mental health had supposedly reached a breaking point and was said to be the lowest time of his life. And given the lyrics, the sample, and the context within his own personal life, it's believed that this song was ultimately meant to be a suicide note, which he would release directly before taking his life. Thankfully, this would never happen. However, the song itself would leak to YouTube years later, where it is now referred to as his suicide song, as his lyrics seem to confirm his intentions. Monkey hate. We mentioned the bizarre fetish rabbit hole that certain YouTube channels and playlists can lead you down. But one of the most baffling and disturbing examples of this is without a doubt the trend of monkey hate on YouTube. There are countless videos and channels dedicated to this unusual trend, but essentially, the content typically shows a monkey or multiple monkeys being tortured in various ways. And though that is sickening enough, the comments are truly what make it horrifying, as users glorify this treatment as saying things like, "Ha ha 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 ha, it's getting everything it deserves," or "Give it to me, I'll give it a good home." Why this type of content is popular and gets the comments it does is not fully understood, but theories range from it being another sort of twisted fetish to it being coded racism. Either way, it truly accounts for one of the darkest sections on all of YouTube. Much like monkey hate, this entry deals with a similarly depraved form of animal abuse, though this has been documented frequently across Nick's channel and will be further highlighted in a video coming later this year. So for the sake of brevity, I won't go deeper into this. Taunting terminally ill girl. Sometimes people will be evil for seemingly no good reason, and this stands out as one of the most inexplicably mean-spirited events ever documented on the web. Kathleen Edwards was a girl who had fallen terminally ill about a decade ago with the same disease, Huntington's, that took the life of her mother at age 24. But whereas nothing seems more deserving of sympathy than a terminally ill child, not everyone viewed the situation in the same manner. And their neighbor, Jennifer Petcove, was instead actively rooting for the death of the child, apparently stemming from her kid not being invited to a party at Kathleen's grandmother's house. Petcove went on a tirade, first posting a disturbing image of the Grim Reaper holding Kathleen's dead mother to the web. Then she posted a skull and crossbones on Facebook, but instead of a regular skull, it was Kathleen's face. And Kathleen's grandmother even said that there was an incident in which Petcove stood on her front porch and yelled, when Kathleen was outside, "I wish that kid would hurry up and die," with the lady going as far as to deck their vehicle out as a hearse.
Her dispute features a hearse hauling a coffin. Kathleen's family and neighbors say it's been used to harass Kathleen and her mom before her death.
And seeing an interview with her and her lawyer, it seems like there is absolutely no remorse.
Have you learned a lesson?
Yes,
And that is?
to keep my opinions and my views to myself.
In the years since, it appears that Kathleen Edwards has sadly passed away from her condition, meaning some of the precious final years of her life were unfortunately spent dealing with this unnecessary and disturbed harassment. Harrison O'Kinney rescue footage. Harrison O'Kinney was a cook aboard the Jascone 4, a Nigerian tugboat, when he experienced what would be best described as a real-life nightmare. While getting ready at 5 a.m. in the ship's bathroom, a giant wave struck the ship, tearing a hole in the hull and causing the vessel to sink beneath the water. 10 of the 12 crew members on that ship were killed, but O'Kinney had miraculously survived, with the only problem being that he was trapped in the ship's bathroom, and the ship was sinking quickly. Unable to escape, the man accepted his fate before something miraculous happened. A small air bubble had formed in the ship's bathroom where Harrison just so happened to be, and despite the ship now being at the bottom of the ocean, Harrison was still able to breathe. This went on for an astonishing 60 hours when he was finally discovered by a rescue crew that was only coming to the ship to identify and collect bodies.
Okay. All right. All right.
With the rescue being caught on camera and later uploaded to YouTube, you can see the shock in O'Kinney's eyes, a man who must have all but given up hope while waiting for the oxygen in the air bubble to run out. O'Kinney went on to survive and eventually be released from the hospital to live a normal life, though he has sworn to never go out to sea again.
Random acts of violence. This entry refers to the numerous clips across YouTube depicting, well, random acts of violence. The most well-known example of this came back in 2017, when a video would be shared across the site showing a jogger pushing a woman in front of a bus. Luckily, the woman narrowly escaped death, as the bus swerved at the last possible second. But the video remains as a reminder of how cruel people can be, as the shove was done completely at random, and the man went out of his way to try and essentially end this woman's life, for no apparent reason. The popularity of the video led to a worldwide search to try and determine the identity of this man, but frustratingly, he has remained anonymous. Though this is by far the most popular example, it's sadly far from the only example. Like this video, which shows a woman in her mid-50s planting flowers along a sidewalk in Seattle. And though her actions were incredibly innocent and wholesome, a young man walking by would approach her from behind and kick her directly in the face, leaving the woman badly injured. This man was thankfully caught and identified as 19-year-old Isaiah Clay Lewis, who had a history of domestic abuse as well as other assault charges. Thankfully, it appears that he is still in prison, awaiting his trial. Man dies standing up. This strange video was shot at a mall in Kazakhstan, where a group of people crowd around a man who appears completely frozen in an upright position. For the video's runtime, the crowd never successfully gets the man to move, and chillingly, when the medics went to pick him up, his body was completely stiff. The title of this video suggests that this man had somehow died standing up. And looking at the video, it's easy to see why, as not once does the man move. But in reality, something even stranger happened. It was said that the man had spent the entire day binge drinking when his body suffered an incredibly rare symptom called alcoholic stupor. This is the final stage of alcohol intoxication before coma, and occurs when the blood alcohol content level is nearly 0.40. For reference, you're considered drunk when you're at 0.08. This causes the person to lose motor function and stops them from responding to any stimuli around them. In this instance, it led to the man essentially freezing in place, apparently for well over an hour. Luckily, medics were able to pump the man's stomach, and he would go on to make a full recovery. Though this video remains chilling nonetheless, as there's something so unnatural and off-putting about a man stuck in time, likely one drink away from death. Rabies in humans. When we think of rabies, we typically think about wild animals who foam at the mouth when they contract it. But sadly, humans are susceptible to this terrifying disease as well. It first causes flu-like symptoms that quickly progress into agitation, confusion, and aggression. As things progress, humans begin to hallucinate and suffer from hydrophobia, or the fear of water. This disease is devastating, and virtually 100% fatal after the first symptoms emerge. Luckily, we now have an effective vaccine against rabies, but videos exist of a time before a preventative treatment was available that show these haunting effects on camera. Some of the most disturbing include this child who had developed a fear of water, which likely led him to pass away due to dehydration. Flocka videos. Flocka is a synthetic drug that attempts to stimulate the effects of cocaine and methamphetamine for a much cheaper price tag. But like many drugs, they can often take over a person and make them completely unlike themselves. Flocka is commonly referred to as the zombie drug, and the videos here on YouTube show us exactly why many call it that, as it makes these people look and act like legitimate zombies. These videos are extremely prevalent across the site, and they all serve as a warning to stay far away from Flocka. Russian dog experiments. Ah yes, this one is old but gold. This refers to a video created by Soviet scientist Sergei Brokonenko, a man best known for creating one of the first heart and lung machines. And though this invention has revolutionized the world of medicine, its roots are very dark, as during the testing phase, Sergei would use dogs to test his machine. The video shows the head of a dog, detached from its body, but with Sergei's machine, it's still alive. It's extremely disturbing, but experiments like this were very common back in the 50s and 60s, as on another occasion, scientists attached the head of a dog onto another healthy dog. The result was this: a dog with two heads, both of which were actually functioning. The dog would go on to survive for 38 days before it eventually perished. Making a real PC gaming chair. At first glance, this video appears relatively normal, as it portrays exactly what the title says. It shows a group visiting a junkyard and finding an old car, in which they remove the seat from and turn it into a gaming chair. However, looking a bit closer, you start to realize that the video is far stranger than it seems, as when looking at the car's windshield, you can notice several bullet holes, a few of which enter the vehicle directly in front of the seat they chose. And to make it stranger, when the cameraman is showing off the seat, you can see what appears to be long, dried blood in the back, making it likely that someone had been shot and maybe even killed, whilst sitting in that very seat. And strangest of all, no one in the video reacts to it at all, just adding to the unsettling atmosphere of the clip. This was the original name of a channel run by a young man who seemed to have an obsession with a number of girls. He would find girls that caught his eye. Some were contestants on Wheel of Fortune, while others were childhood stars or even just random internet users. And then he would obsessively post about them on one of his many channels, as he's known to have at least 10 accounts. The videos are incredibly creepy, as this person simply whispers the name of these young women over and over again. In one particular clip, he even doxed one of the girls in the description, making it clear that he had been actively trying to locate her behind the scenes. BHFS. Spanning a total of just 8 seconds, this video showcases what is likely the most devastating moment of a man's life. It shows a cluster of dead cattle and a man, who is lying with them in the background, thrashing and screaming at the top of his lungs. No words were spoken, and no context is given to the video, but it's not hard to assume that the man wailing in the back was the owner of these animals, and their sudden death had broken him. Those cattle were clearly everything to him, and were likely one of the main things supporting him and potentially his family. Yet, in an instant, they were gone, for reasons unknown. I wish we knew more about what was really happening here, as the clip seems so reminiscent of the Lake Niles incident discussed previously on this channel. But ultimately, the man's reaction tells us all we really need to know about how devastating this video really is. El Chapo's son. El Chapo's son refers to a video posted by the New York Times, which includes body cam footage of the moment they discovered Ovidio Guzman Lopez, the son of Joaquin Guzman, better known as El Chapo. Lopez himself is the cartel leader, and his capture was said to be a long time coming given the countless crimes he had committed. However, a few days after his arrest, the Mexican government would order his release when a Sinaloa cartel took over much of the city. In the days after this video was filmed, virtually every officer shown in the footage would be hunted down and killed by the cartel they had been trying to stop. Pastor Bit by Snake. Pastor Bit by Snake refers to a video depicting a ritual performed by Cody Coots, a pastor at the Full Gospel Tabernacle Church, located in Kentucky, is known in particular for their rituals, which involve drinking poisons and handling venomous snakes to prove your devotion to God. Yeah. In the video, we see Cody delivering a sermon in 2018 with confidence, before the snake abruptly bites him. He continues to deliver the sermon, but quickly becomes so weak that he had to be carried out of the church and rushed to the hospital. He would survive, but only after 10 days in the ICU, meaning that this bite left him within inches of his life. But perhaps the strangest part of all of this is the fact that his father, Jamie Coots, had sustained a venomous snake bite during this exact type of ritual back in 2013. Like his son, Jamie had been holding the snake too closely, prompting it to sink its venomous fangs into him. However, unlike his son, Jamie would not survive the ordeal, as he passed away soon after. Hiccup Girl. Hiccup Girl refers to Jennifer Mee, a Floridian woman who became known in 2007 for her seemingly never-ending case of hiccups. In the video, she gives information on trying to stop it, how long it's been going on, etc.
Abdominal pains, throat pains, back pains. It's unbelievable.
The video itself is harmless. It's what happens after that gives it a hindsight case of sinister energy. In June 2007, Mee's popularity waned after she successfully cured her hiccups, but she gained more attention after it was reported that she ran away from home. From there, she reportedly began to rob people with partners Lamont Newton and LaRon Rayford. This continued until 2010, in which she lured a man with the help of Newton and Rayford into a house before killing him. They apparently got $50 from the robbery and were soon after arrested. Mee's attorney attempted to defend her by saying she had schizophrenia, evidencing her hiccups as a side effect, but this did not work, and she currently serves life in prison without parole. Today, watching this video, it's disturbing to see what such an innocent-seeming figure became over the course of 3 years, to go from hiccuping on the news to life without parole on the news.